So as I record this is November 30th of 2016, and this coming weekend, December 2nd and 3rd, we got a stacked MMA lineup schedule. You got two Bellator events. Bellator 166 takes place on Friday. Bellator 167 takes place on Saturday, and they're going to be going head-to-head, or Bellator 167, will be going up against the UFC in the TUF 24 finale. Now, obviously, the UFC is a much bigger MMA promotion than Bellator, so we're going to go from the bottom to the top. And I think this order kind of works out in its own just because Bellator 166 is on Friday and the other two events are on Saturday. So we're going to kick things off. And I don't want to make this a long-lasting preview, but I think these events do deserve some showcasing and promotion because they're pretty good cards. Starting out is Bellator 166, and just so I won't be repetitive, I just want to make this note. Both Bellator 166 and Bellator 167, will take place at the WinStar World Casino in Thackerville, Oklahoma. That's about 4 hours from where I live. It's damn near on the border of Oklahoma and Texas. And all that's in Thackerville is this casino. So I think this is a very interesting choice to hold not only two events in 1 week, but let alone two events back-to-back nights for Bellator. Now, Thackerville, they draw a pretty good crowd. It's usually about 5,000 to 8,000 people that they'll draw. It'll be interesting to see how the second event turns out because the Friday show, which is Bellator 166, has a better card in my opinion. Both events will air on Spike TV at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, while the prelims will air on Spike TV. Now, Bellator 166 is headlined by a title fight rematch as Eduardo Dantas defends the bantamweight title against former champ Joe Warren. And then the co-main event, you got McKee taking on Ray Wood. And then rounding out the main card is Marcos Galvao versus L.C. Davis in a bantamweight bout. That should be explosive. And then you got Chris Honeycutt versus Ben Reiter. So that should be a lot of good stuff. Honeycutt will get a decision win over Reiter. I see Davis upsetting Galvao, which is a huge upset in my opinion, by first round KO. McKee and Wood will go to a decision, and that's really a toss-up. McKee's 5-0, Wood 7-2. And then in the main event, Dantas has been on a killing streak. And then Warren has, he'll win some, he'll lose some, and he kind of goes back and forth. Dantas is just on a different level. He's 18-4 in his MMA career. He's just on another level. He came out with an interview this week stating that he wants to be a two-division champion, which I can clearly see. He can move up to lightweight if he wanted to. He could go to featherweight if he wanted to. I see him going to featherweight, but I would love to see him at lightweight. He could fight Michael Chandler, Benson Henderson, Michael Page. There's so many fun fights that he could do at that weight division, but I see him retaining the title over Warren. He could finish him early, but most likely this will be a 5-round beatdown for Dantas. Switching over to Bellator 167, that takes place this Saturday night, December 3rd. And it will be headlined by a bantamweight bout. Now, this was originally supposed to be the co-main event, but some things got mixed up. A couple injuries forced the original main event out of the picture, and it wasn't really a good one. And I cover this for a living, and I can't remember what the original main event was. But it wasn't very good, so it kind of works out. But anyway, a bantamweight bout between Darren Caldwell, and Joe Tamango will be the main event. That should be a lot of fun. Both fighters, they have fought each other before. They met at Bellator 159 in July, and it was actually their last fights in their career. Caldwell did, really good in the first two rounds, but he was caught in a fight-ending guillotine choke in the third round. So that could go either way, but I got Caldwell. Not only just because of how the last fight went, just because he was dominating that fight, but Caldwell is someone that you have to keep your eye on because he's just a rising talent. And as he fights, it seems like he gets better each and every fight. that he takes part in. And then Tamango, he's a seasoned veteran. He's 23-6-1 in his pro MMA career. He's one of those guys that's been around for a minute. He has a lot of experience, but he's never really hit that top peak as an MMA fighter. And Caldwell, he's just something special. So I see him getting the decision victory. In the co-main event, you have John Teixeira taking on Justin Lawrence. And I absolutely love this fight. Teixeira is 19-1-2, while Lawrence is 9-3. Lawrence is someone that you also got to keep an eye on. He's a stud, but Teixeira is no joke either. This is going to be a really tough fight. I see this going as a war and probably to a decision. And then the next two fights on the main card, I'm not really a big fan. And I think the problem with the Bellator running back-to-back events, I love it from a business standpoint because I make more money like that. But if they really wanted to, they probably should have just made Bellator 166 a 3-hour event, which I'm not a fan of doing 3-hour events, but UFC main cards are that. And it's kind of the stigma that goes around in MMA promotions at this time. So you might have wanted to pull the Caldwell-Tamango fight as well as the Teixeira and Lawrence fight from Bellator 166, cancel Bellator 166 or 167, and put those two fights from Bellator 167 to Bellator 166. I'm getting so excited that I am botching my effing words. Anyway, so rounding out the card for Bellator 167 is Lima McFarlane taking on Emily Ducote. They're really inexperienced. McFarlane is 4-0 and Ducote is 4-1. So I could tell you to leave it. It's just kind of like, it's there, whatever. And then opening up that main card for Bellator 167 is Chidi Nakchikoni and Andre Fahol. I've never heard of those fighters, so it is what it is. But that should be the main and co-main for Bellator 167 should be a lot of fun. And then Bellator 166 main card, I have no complaints about. I'm actually looking forward to that event pretty good. Now switching gears to our last event, and I'm going to cut this short. UFC TUF 24 finale. The Ultimate Fighter, the Tournament of Champions, also known as the Ultimate Fighter 24 finale. That takes place on December 3rd at the Palms Casino Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada. Oh, yeah. So the UFC had a problem on their hands. Demetrius Johnson, current flyweight champion, he's a stud. He's a baller. He is the division. He's already beaten Joseph Benavidez twice? 3 times? I want to say twice. He already beat Henry Cejudo. He's beaten all the top fighters, Ian McCall including. So what does the UFC do? All right, y'all. We're going to make a tournament. We're going to put it on a reality show that is not watched by anyone. Mid 200,000 viewer range per episode on Fox Sports 1. Doing record low ratings. And we're going to put about 25 fighters in this tournament. And whoever wins this tournament is going to fight Demetrius Johnson. Even though they don't have a lot of experience. And they're not good enough to be able to be signed in the UFC. Okay. That sounds like a good plan. Not really. But I understand from a business standpoint, you have no other fighters who will fight Johnson. You could make the argument that Johnson should either move up or move down weight. He stated in an interview today on Facebook Live that he walks around as 185, which is a middleweight, which I cannot see because he fights at 125, but that's neither here or there. But he could easily make featherweight, bantamweight. He used to fight at lightweight. It wasn't very good at lightweight, but that's where he kind of got his start. And spoiler alert, I guess if you want to say, they'll announce it as of this recording tonight on The Ultimate Fighter that Tim Elliott will be fighting him for the flyweight title in the main event of this event. And Demetrius Johnson will absolutely destroy this guy. I would not be surprised whatsoever if he got a first round KO, second, third KO. Either way, he's going to finish this guy, and it's going to be ugly. In the co-main event, you got Joseph Benavidez taking on Henry Cejudo. Oh my God, this should be a phenomenal fight, and this is actually the fight that I'm looking forward to the most on this card because our flyweights are going to be moving around a lot. There's going to be a lot of action. It's going to be studded. Cannot wait for this fight. Cejudo, he has an Olympic wrestling background. Benavidez is just a all-around talented fighter. He can stand, he can grapple, he can submit, he can knock out. I love Benavidez, but Henry Cejudo is a talented fighter, but he's not very entertaining, so that may be a problem going into the 4th and 5th round. Cejudo's coming off of a loss to Demetrius Johnson, and those two, Benavidez and Cejudo, were the coaches of TUF 24. And then moving down the card, you got Jake Ellenberger taking on Jorge Masvidal. And that should be a sick fight. Ellenberger, he was going into his last fight. He was nearly cut from the UFC, but he got a quick finish. And so he's back in the UFC. He's back in the hunt. Masvidal, when he first signed with the UFC a couple years back, he looked to be a top prospect. But he's kind of won some fights and lost some fights. He is coming off of a win, though. We'll see if Ellenberger is truly back. I could easily see him getting a knockout victory, but I think Masvidal, I think he's going to prove that Ellenberger is still on the decline in his pro MMA career. I got Masvidal. And then you got Alexis Davis taking on Sarah McMahon. I'm interested in that fight on the main card. McMahon will probably get it done by decision. And then you got Ryan Benoit taking on Brandon Moreno. That should be such a fun fight as well. And then the other fight on the main card, you haven't heard of them. I haven't heard of them. Therefore, they don't need to be talked about. Anyway, y'all, that's going to do it. I hope you enjoy the fights. I'll be doing not only weigh-ins, but post-fight press conference coverage as well as event coverage this weekend over at lowkickmma.com. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, Andrew_Ravens. It's that simple. Just hit that. Wrap this bad boy up. Hit that like button and subscribe so you know when a new audio is coming your way. And until then, I'll talk to you next time.